All right, let's talk about something that's probably on every diver's mind at some point, finding your way back. We're going to dig into this really cool survey from the Business of Diving Institute, and trust me, the data tells a story about underwater navigation that is not what you'd expect. So, let's start with the direct question. Think about it for a second. Have you ever been lost underwater? Even for a moment, that little pang of uncertainty where you're not exactly sure which way the boat is? Yeah, that feeling. Well, turns out you're in very, very good company. Get this, a whopping 79%. That's nearly 4 out of every 5 divers surveyed said, "Yep, I've been lost." This isn't some fringe thing that happens to a few unlucky people. It's a core part of the experience for almost everyone. And that brings us to what we can call the lost diver problem. I mean, getting lost isn't just a possibility, it's practically a probability. So the real question is, why? In a sport that's all about planning, awareness, and safety, why are so many people getting turned around? And hold on, it gets crazier. For those who've been lost, it's not a one-and-done kind of thing. The average diver in this survey has been lost almost 8 times. So this isn't about one bad day or a single mistake. It's a pattern. Okay, so you have to wonder, right? If getting lost is this common, what's up with the gear we use to, not get lost? And that brings us to the OG piece of nav gear, the compass. And this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. We're calling this the compass conundrum because honestly, the way divers use or don't use their compasses is full of contradictions. It's a real puzzle. So first off, it looks like people are prepared. Almost 80% always have a compass, and another 10% have one often. So we're talking about nearly 90% of divers who have the tool on them for most of their dives. The gear is there, so that's not the problem. And look at what they're carrying. It's a pretty even split between the classic analog compass and the modern electronic ones. But check out the biggest slice there. Over a third of these divers carry both. What does that tell you? It kind of screams, I don't completely trust either one of these things on its own. They want a backup. And maybe this is why. For divers with an electronic compass, almost a third of them said that, yeah, at some point it's actually steered them wrong. So you can see why they might be a little hesitant. Technology is great until it's not, and you remember those moments. This also helps explain another really interesting tidbit. You know how a lot of dive computers have a compass built in? Well, for the divers who don't use it, the number one reason by a long shot, 70% of them, is that they want their screen for other stuff. They need to see their depth, their time, their no-deco limits. The compass is just clutter. All right, so it's pretty clear just having a compass isn't the magic answer. There's this gap between owning the tool and actually relying on it. So this whole conversation has to shift, right? It shifts from gear to skill. What are these divers really doing down there to get home? And the answer is pretty incredible. It's less about following a device and a whole lot more about reading the environment. We're talking about natural navigation. So let's just make sure we're on the same page. You've got compass navigation, right? You follow a heading, 270 degrees, let's go. Then you have natural navigation, which is all about using clues, the way the reef slopes, the direction the sand ripples are pointing, a big, weird-looking rock. You're using the landscape itself as a map. And this right here is the heart of the matter. A staggering 93% of these divers say their primary way of navigating is natural navigation, either by itself or with a compass as a sidekick. Only a tiny fraction are mostly relying on the compass. The vast majority? They're reading the world around them. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, I get it. These must be fairly new divers, still figuring things out, making beginner mistakes. It's a totally logical conclusion to draw, and it would be totally 100% wrong. This is the big twist. So you might want to sit down for this, because understanding who these divers are completely reframes everything we've just talked about. It's the key to the whole story. What's this number? 1,389. That is the average number of logged dives for every single person who responded to this survey. Let that sink in. We are not talking about newbies. We are talking about people who have spent a serious amount of their lives underwater. And if you had any doubt, this seals it. Look at this group. Over 60% are tech divers, nearly 40% are cave divers, 2/3 of them are dive instructors. These aren't just experienced divers, these are the pros, the explorers, the people who teach other people how not to get lost.
And that changes everything, doesn't it? This story isn't about people failing. It's about how incredibly challenging underwater navigation actually is. If the best of the best are still getting turned around sometimes, it just proves this is a profoundly difficult skill to master. Period.
So, with that big revelation, what do we do with this information? What's the takeaway for you and your diving? Let's put together a little roadmap based on what the expert's experience is telling us. Okay, so here it is. 3 key things. 1, your gear is a tool, not a magic wand. Don't trust it blindly because we know it can fail. 2, double down on learning to read the environment. It's what 93% of the pros are actually doing. And 3, no matter how good you think you are, always have a plan. Preparation is everything. And really, that's the bottom line. This whole survey leaves us with one powerful question to think about. Your compass, your computer, sure, they can show you which way is north. But what truly shows you the way home? It's your awareness. It's your skills. It's your plan. It's a craft, not just a gadget.